Good afternoon, everyone. From Cambridge Central Mosque Studies. Thanks to the ACCESS leadership team for inviting me to present some key findings of this FlexFund funded project, which I'm running in collaboration with the Cambridge Central Mosque, which is the first eco-sustainable mosque in the UK. And as Davide said, unfortunately my project partner who was supposed to present with me is not here today because of an emergency at the mosque that kept him busy. And this is actually often a good starting point because this is of course part of the challenges of working in co-production with religious institutions like a mosque. However, it is precisely this kind of co-production approach that also offers great opportunities. And in fact, I'd like to start by emphasizing that a key ingredient for the success of this project is precisely the type of co-production which has been supported by ACCESS and its flexible approach to research, which previous speakers have also spoken about. And this is an approach which recognizes the value, inherent value of building relationships and the time that requires and the commitment that requires, and which also engages all types of partners as knowledge holders rather than simply stakeholders. And in our case, that approach applies both to the mosque as an institution, but also to participants themselves. And you can learn more about contributions from the mosque religious leaders and participants' experiences by checking out these videos on the mosque YouTube channel. But what I wanted to stress here really is that this element of a participant-focused approach, because one piece of feedback that consistently was shared with us from participants is precisely that they appreciated having a space where they could share their experiences of nature, including challenges, on their own terms, and also, and this is something that we didn't expect, build relationships between them which have outlasted their participation in the project and manifest into collaborative outgoings in nature and so on and so forth. And this participant-centered approach was also key to nurture two key intertwined results. On the one hand, participants experience their participation in the project not just as participating in a research project, but in their own words as a journey of self-discovery. And on the other hand, this has also led us, and me specifically as a researcher, to reach qualitative data, as you will see in a second. And one of the objectives in my presentation is exactly to bring those voices to the foreground in order for you to get a glimpse of their experiences of nature. So, what is the project about? The project is basically run as an environmental education initiative through which Muslims can experiment connecting to nature in ways that are informed by their faith. Each iteration of the program runs for a month. It's a very intense month for everyone involved, during which participants attend 2 events every week. One is an interactive seminar at the mosque, where I facilitate the exploration of relevant themes and ideas in the Islamic tradition which relate to the natural world. And then, over the weekend, we do activities in nature which enable participants to kind of put in action or practice whatever we discuss, whatever they may have learned in kind of a more theoretical setting during the seminars. For example, we do forest walks, we do hunting trips at the river camp, we do gardening workshop at the mosque garden, and we do visits to a Muslim-led sustainable farm in Oxfordshire. 100 people participated so far. We ran 3 cohorts, and kind of unsurprisingly, the majority of them are ladies. I mean, unsurprisingly, based on the research on pro-environmental attitudes and values that is available out there. So 62% were ladies, and we asked them to fill the same survey at 3 points in time registration, conclusion, and after 6 months, to evaluate indicators of environmental values, personal norms, and self-identity. 67 people submitted both surveys at the start and at the conclusion of the project, and today we focus on these results in terms of quantitative data. But also, I want to focus on the qualitative part of the project, because at the 6 months mark, so 6 months after they concluded their intense month of participation in the project, we ran a certificate ceremony where we bring people together again, so they catch up. But we also, where they share three photos of nature that they find particularly meaningful, alongside the reflections around those very photos. And so I would like to start from here, because this is really where the most groundbreaking contribution of the project lies. And also because this provides the type of narratives and qualitative case studies whose importance has been emphasized throughout this assembly. So let's start from experiences of nature among Muslims in the UK, among project participants. Before we start looking at what they say and what they photographed in terms of nature, a word on theoretical framework. So all activities, seminars and activities in nature were designed to help participants connect to nature through one or more of the 5 key pathways to nature connection identified by Lambert, Richardson and others, which are summarized here in a toolkit produced in collaboration with Natural England. So in a nutshell, pathways to nature connection are, and I quote them, ways of being in, engaging with and relating to nature that help us grow closer to nature. And as you will see in the next few slides, 6 months after they concluded their participation in the project, participants were able to connect to nature very strongly through all of these pathways. And most of these pathways are actually captured by the courses that we share. Notably, this project has also highlighted the existence of an additional and powerful subtype of the meaning pathway, the meaning number 4 in this table, which is deployed by Muslims to connect to nature, and which I call the spiritual meaning pathway, or the action of the heart pathway. So let's start by having a look at the photos and reflection shared with some participants. And as you will see, I color-coded the text to highlight the activation of different pathways to nature connection. And I will try to say a few words after each slide to unpack those and possibly highlight links to spiritual dimension of their faith. So let's start from a photo of a reflection, about water in the form of the river Cam. So this female participant took this photo whilst being on the punting trip on the project, and she says, "The stillness of the river in the busy city reminded me of the importance of stillness and the joy in slowing down amid the haste of the work, and to feel joy and gratitude for the blessing of water and the one who has sent his mercy. The waterway evoked in me also the importance of seeking guidance in life. Even though the river was meandering, there was a constancy that reminded me of seeking guidance to live my life on the straight path. I also felt the joy of community with sisters in faith, and the experience made me feel a deep sense of gratitude for the privilege of enjoying the experience of being in nature." 5 minutes already? Wow. So here we see nature connection to meaning being associated to the stillness of water, which is seen as a symbol of the importance of stillness in one's life. And we see nature connection to emotions in the form of joy and gratitude for being in nature. And we see nature connection to spiritual meaning grounded in Islamic tradition, because water is seen as a mercy and a blessing from God, which is exactly how the Quran describes water. And also the river that finds its course is seen as a metaphor for seeking guidance and living on the straight path. And again, this is an implicit reference to the Quran, as one line in its first chapter, which Muslims recite daily, 5 times a day in their prayer, is precisely an invocation asking God to guide us along the straight path. Second photo, male participant, greenery in the form of prune trees. He says, "This image made me think of the name of Allah, Al-Hakim, the All-Wise. Pruning itself suggests control and purpose. Even though the trees look cut back, this process actually helps them grow better. Allah's wisdom may allow hardship or reduction for a greater outcome, even if it's not immediately obvious. To a human eye, the trees may look damaged or weakened, but life is still there. These remind us that human judgment is limited, where Allah fully knows what is hidden and what will come. This picture emphasizes transformation, resilience, hidden life, and divine wisdom." So here we can see how nature connection is being activated again by meaning and spiritual meaning pathways. On the one hand, this person sees the prune trees as symbols of transformation, resilience, and potential growth. And on the other hand, he also links the act of pruning to a profound spiritual reflection. In the Islamic tradition, God has many names and attributes which are known through revelation, and one of the names and attributes is Al-Hakim, the All-Wise. So this participant is connecting the counterintuitive wisdom of pruning, where reduction, cutting off, leads to growth, to the notion that Allah, the All-Wise, may at times cause reduction in people's life in order to enable them to grow. Next photo is about animals, a bee specifically, and this female participant says, "What appears to be a simple moment in nature is actually a scene full of meaning. The color attracting pollinators, fragrance inviting life, and the bee fulfilling the role it was created for. The bee especially adds beauty because it reminds me that even the smallest creature carries wisdom and purpose. It moves quietly from flower to flower, sustaining ecosystem in ways many people do not notice." The image reflects the names of Allah Al-Khalid, the creator, Al-Hakim, the all-wise, and Al-Razzaq, the provider, who created beauty, function, and provision together in one scene. The bee travels from flower to flower, collecting from different sources, and the result is honey, something pure, beneficial, and healing. In the same way, when people seek knowledge sincerely from different experiences and places, the end result can be wisdom that benefits both the individual and society. This image reminds me that nature itself teaches us to be active in seeking benefit, humble in our effort, and purposeful in producing something of value for others. So here again, we have strong focus on meaning and spiritual meaning as pathways to connect to nature. And we also have examples of beauty, both in terms of the specific beauty of the bee, but also in the general category of beauty being witnessed in the creation of God in the natural order. And in terms of the meaning pathway, we see that this participant perceived the bee as a symbol of wisdom and purpose, and then she uses it as an archetype of the fact that nature itself teaches us. Nature as a teacher. Just as the bee produces something beneficial, which is honey, by collecting nectar from different flowers, so humans are called to produce something valuable by collecting wisdom from different sources. And again, we see, like in the previous case, that the participant also connects this image with some of the names and attributes of God in the Islamic tradition, the creator of the natural order, the all-wise was designed the natural order with wisdom, the provider who provides nectar for the bee, which in turn produces honey, which in turn is provision for other bees and humans. And the final photo is from a male participant, again about animals, but this time is a ladybird. He says, "What I found beautiful here is the delicacy and softness of the moment. A tiny ladybird resting on a flower, perfectly placed, full of color, balance, and color. It makes me think of Musawwir, the fashioner, one of Allah's names, Al-Latif, the gentle. And now even the smallest creature is designed with such care. The scene also evokes the name of Allah Al-Wadud, the most loving, because the ladybird's little life on a flower feels surrounded by tenderness and mercy, as even if its brief existence is held in love. There is also something deeply moving about how safe and untraveled the ladybird appears. It goes about its tiny life in full confidence, which brings to mind Allah's name Al-Muhayyim, the preserver of safety. Even the smallest of creatures exists under divine protection. This made me reflect on how egotistical or self-focused we can be as humans, assuming our own needs and desires are the most important, while forgetting about the countless other living beings sharing the same space with us. Oh, sorry, I was not yet there. And finally, the ladybird becomes a metaphor for us. Sometimes we feel small or insignificant in the world, but just like this tiny creature, we too live under the care of Allah and Muhayyim al-Basir, the all-seeing and Al-Wadud, the most loving. So again, here this participant connects to nature through beauty and emotions. He finds the scenes beautiful in its words and deeply moving. There are also mention of love and care and tenderness as emotions, but also principally through meaning and spiritual meaning. The ladybird becomes a metaphor for the human condition. Both individual human beings and ladybirds are apparently insignificant in the grand scale of things, but both are under the protective care of Allah, the preserver of safety, the all-seeing, the most loving. And this parallel enables this participant to activate another pathway we haven't seen so far, which is compassion. Since humans share with ladybirds and other living beings, even insects, an inherent fragility and the need of divine protection, that means that just like humans, ladybirds and other living beings should be receivers of our compassion. So I hope this gives you like a taste of the kind of reflection that participants share in terms of their experiences with of nature. I will skip over the quantitative dimension of the various indicators, just to mention that this doesn't happen in a vacuum. So baseline indicators were already kind of relatively high in terms of the average percentage of respondents that associated extreme value to environmental values and norms and self-identity. But through the participation, all of these were significantly increased from different kind of percentage point, from 34% in terms of the emotion pathways to 30% on meaning, and so on and so forth. Just want to skip through this. The message of these slides is basically that the program and the project had an impact on these indicators for environmental values, self-identities and norms. And I want to go to the final slide, which is where my project partner, the director of the mosque, Mohammed Fizan, was supposed to talk, because this kind of brings us full circle. So, as I mentioned at the beginning, this has been a co-produced project from the very start, from the very ideation, inception, and all stages. Through this project, we established a green hub at the mosque, which wasn't present before. Also, the mosque is eco-sustainable in terms of architecture and engineering. And through this green hub, we start running activities beyond the project that we intend to keep running also beyond the duration of the funding. And as part of this, we already conducted several nature-related activities, which also open up to non-Muslim audiences. For example, we ran an event called Green and Living Day in partnership with NHS, where I was helping to facilitate some nature connection activities, not grounded specifically in faith, so Muslim and non-Muslims alike joined. And we received also, and we intend to deliver these kind of activities also beyond Cambridge, across the UK. We received, for example, requests from Muslim Scouts and other kind of these organizations. So I think my time is ended, and this is the project in a nutshell. And thank you again to ACCESS for their flexibility to allow us and enable us to run this initiative, also on behalf of the mosque and participants. Thank you very much.